bless to all. So, ladies and gentlemen, I know you don't get the information I'm about to give in your churches. A good 99.9% of you go to church on the wrong day. You have the Sabbath on the wrong day. So, the foundation is wrong. The building can't be right. So, a lot of you are wondering, and I heard people talking about the end times and we living in the last days and whatever. Ladies and gentlemen, that type of scenario is irrelevant, okay? Because it behooves us to live like it was the last days. You don't know when you're gonna die. The book says the Elohim comes like a thief in the night. So you always have to have, lamp in your oil in your lamps, because he might come at night, might come at day. So it's a metaphor. You always got to be ready. So whatever is happening around you is irrelevant. So we are looking at the trouble in the so-called Middle East. Ladies and gentlemen, I was trying to figure out about the plight of the Palestinian people, and I can't figure it out. All I know is that the Zionists would be there because the third temple has to be built. So you search all of the prophecies, and the most powerful nation on earth for the last 200 years is not in biblical prophecies. So it's two things. America would cease to exist, or America would align itself with the main religion of this country, which is Roman Christianity. So they're going to align themselves with the Vatican. So we are seeing things that's happening in Israel and wondering, why is it happening? Why we cannot come up with some kind of amicable solution. And the fact remains is, just like in Egypt, America has a heart hardened. Okay? America decides that it will do everything possible so that Israel will survive. We're talking about Israel, the land. This is how confused they are. The name Israel is the people. Okay? So they decide, in their twisted doctrine, Israel, the land, will survive. But as far as biblical prophecy is, Israel, the land, will not survive. Israel, the people, will survive. John said he saw a new Jerusalem coming down, a new earth. But we have to fulfill prophecy. This is why these disillusioned Roman Christians decide that they're going to turn a blind eye to all the atrocities that's been committed in that land. Because our hearts have been hardened. We've been disillusioned. We have to allow prophecy to fulfill. So, folks, the name Israel was given to Jacob. His name was changed. Okay? That land was never called Israel. It's called the land of milk and honey, the promised land. It was never called Israel. That name was taken. That name was given to a specific people. That land was formed in 1948. Okay? Go read about the atrocities that were committed. Poisoning wells, displacing the people that lived there, killing them, bombing of the King David Hotel, bombing of the U.S. Liberty. A whole slew of atrocities has been happening in that land for 75 years. So you guys want to think of Hezbollah of not Hezbollah, of Hamas as being the problem. No. Way before Hamas, that land had trouble. The terrorists that were in that land are now seen as freedom fighters. So how would they see Hamas in another 75 years? But regardless, the story is that one of the smallest nations on earth is telling one of the most powerful nations on earth to go pack sand, you know where. We're going to do whatever we want. How is that possible? So we could put sanctions on Putin for invading Ukraine, but nothing would happen to Israel when they defy the world. Why is that? Because prophecy has to fulfill. So a lot of you are looking at Iran as a bad guy. I'm not saying Iran is a good guy. Iran is Iran. We created Iran. We propped up the Shah, although the people hated him. The Ayatollah came from exile, created a revolution, and thus usher in a theocracy. From that point, we had it in for Iran. Instead of we leave Iran alone, leave it to its own, destruction or whatever, we decide we're going to have regime change. And there the trouble started. Ladies and gentlemen, if Iran legitimately wanted nuclear weapons, there's nothing we could have done because we invaded its neighbor under false pretenses. Okay? The whole fact is that we went into Iraq for regime change. Iran has been under that constant pressure. They could have laid out the case and nobody could say that they're wrong. Laid out a case to get nuclear weapons as a deterrent. They didn't. You see what Rocket Man does? You know why Rocket Man is untouchable? He's got nuclear weapons. And he told the United States, if they invade his country, he's going to light Seoul, Korea on fire. That's the deterrent from regime. So Iran not having any nuclear weapons, I'm not saying this is right, but they're using proxy armies to apply pressure on Israel and for the United States to think twice about invading or doing something of the sort. So now we go into biblical prophecies. Ladies and gentlemen, just like the Zionists is not going anywhere, Iran isn't going anywhere. So is Russia. Might not happen under Putin's watch. But Russia somehow would revive itself. The book says he's going to stir up the Medes and the Persians. So after the world thinks that they have depleted Iran with sanctions and they have depleted the Russians with sanctions and crippling the economy, guess what? This BRICS currency would allow Iran and Russia to rebuild and rebuild 10 times stronger. You know why? Because they got work to do. They're in the book. They have been prophesied about. The book says the Elohim has a sanctified army. That doesn't mean they're righteous. It means that they set them aside for a job. I think this was Daniel prophesied. He saw soldiers running on walls like super soldiers. He said these people are going to be marching and they're going to get mowed down and just never stop because so much of them will be there. So I'm thinking they're going to recruit a lot of people. China is going to be in this. And you see the direction that Africa is going. Africa is rejecting the West. I can't say that they're wrong, because all they have done is suffered abuse from the West. All they had to do was stretch out a helping hand. No, but abuse, abuse, abuse. The only thing United States wants to do in Africa is put military bases there. So Africa is waking up. Many of our people might be part of this army. This army is slated to go rout Jerusalem. Okay? So that third temple has to be built. They're looking for that heifer, that 2-year-old unblemished heifer. When you think about holy cow, that's not an analogous statement. They're looking for the holy cow. When you see the Indians revere the cow, you laugh. But that is part of what's inside the ox. The ox is shown as a symbol of strength in the Torah. The ox is in Greek, not is in Italian legend. Okay? That running of the bulls, all these things. Look at the bull on Wall Street. Doesn't matter what you say. The guy was Italian, and he put a bull there. Why not no other animal? He put a bull there. That bull is steeped in Roman mysticism. Mithras, the so-called father of Rome, kills this bull, and all of this nonsense is all correlated. But I'm telling you, the temple has to be built. I don't know where the Palestinians are going to be. I don't know how this is going to be resolved, if they're going to ever see peace. God forbid that they don't. But I know the Zionists is not going anywhere, because the third temple has to be built. This is where the Vatican comes in. This is where they're going to invite that man over there, and he's going to stay there. He's going to say, wow, what a lovely house. I'm not going anywhere. This is a joke. The Vatican is a joke to us here. He's going to set up residence. And the book says, by peace, he will destroy wonderfully. So in the future, the Antichrist is going to take up residence in Israel. Imagine that. In the future, the Antichrist has the same bill attached to him as it was to the Israelites. It's translated to me that the Antichrist would be an Israelite, because he was accused of sitting up there, and the accusation is that, he's going to be not recognized the God of his ancestors. The same thing when the Israelites were brought into slavery. It says that they're going to be praying to gods that their ancestors never knew, wood and stone. So, ladies and gentlemen, there are several things that's supposed to happen first before the Elohim shows up. First of all, you guys believe in a rapture. The rapture is a joke. Saying immediately after the tribulation, you're going to see the Son of Man. You ain't going nowhere. You ain't going nowhere. That time is going to happen, and people are going to have to endure. Who is the saints that are going to be killed if the saints are going to be raptured off? You guys are idiots. The fact remains that certain things got to happen. They got to find that heifer. They've been looking for a long time. I don't know if they found them, they import them, I don't know. The third temple has to be built. And what's the key in this also? The book says, not until everyone hears about the name. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I always said that the internet and our way of communicating has expanded this timeline. Okay? But the problem we have is that the ones who are sharing the message is the wrong message. So it's very few people out there have the right message. And the God I know, he's fair. He can't judge you for something you don't know. He can't judge you for someone telling you lies. You know, say like you in the jungle or Papua New Guinea, and you got these missionaries going in there and showing those people a blonde-haired, blue-eyed Jesus, or telling them to pray to Mary. How could God judge any? How could you be judged on some kind of nonsensical type knowledge like that? So the right message have to reach everyone in the world. The true gospel has to reach everyone. And that's one of the keys with all the other rest of stuff that will promote and expand the coming of the Messiah. Now, as far as who the Jews are, I said it before, not all of us are Jews. Jews are relegated to the house of Judah. There are 11 other tribes. Okay, nobody talks about them. On top of that, you hear Netanyahu talks about Israel returning home. He never tell you by what means. The Elohim says he's going to gather them and restore them. Why would anybody want to return to that chaos, that death, that destruction? In the same book of Ezekiel, he wouldn't tell you this, but the Elohim gave an edict and says that the stranger have to have an inheritance in that land. They have to be considered as part of the Israelites. He would not tell you that, but he would promote that land is for Jews and Jews only. That's a lie. That's a lie from the pits of hell. A lie that's causing him to destroy those people. How could they be the offspring of Jacob? This is the reason why they call themselves Israeli. They cannot say they're Israelites. They cannot trace that bloodline. That's like looking for a polar bear in the Serengeti, folks. Those people are from Europe. They cannot trace their bloodline. But I could trace it. In the book of Esther, one of the 5 scrolls, it talks about a mass conversion. You guys don't read. You don't read. The book talks about, you know what our DNA is? They are searching for Jewish DNA, which is quack science. You know what our DNA is? Slavery. Our DNA is being last always. This is what the plight and the mark of the Israelites are. Being last. Always the tail, the book says. Guess what, folks? The Zionist has the bomb. They have one of the most sophisticated militaries in the world. You see what they did with those pager bombs and whatever? If somebody last can do that, they intercepted these pagers somehow, implanted them with bombs that they could remotely, explode, remotely listening in on all of these organizations. They listen in on America too. One of the biggest problem America have is Israel spying on it. You guys probably don't know that. They have Americans with dual citizenship with top clearance in America. Sitting in our government, they're Israeli citizens. They have dual citizens. You wouldn't know that. Would you allow a Chinese dual citizens to work in our State Department? Would you allow a Russian with American with Russian heritage having dual citizenship working in the State Department? Why is it okay for somebody who has an Israeli dual citizenship working in the State Department? This is the kind of nonsense they don't tell you that's happening. Ladies and gentlemen, okay, according to the book, those are not the right people. God's word cannot lie. He says the Israelite people will be last, always. Israel has the highest concentration of PhDs in the world, highly educated people. Is that being last according to the Torah? Read it. It's in Deuteronomy or Devarim 28. It says, after it details slavery and what it is, it describes slavery to a T. It says ships going to take you into another Egypt, where you will serve your masters in nakedness, a yoke on your neck, chains on your feet. He says you're gonna marry a person, and another will come sleep with it. So your children will be born and given into slavery, and you'll be powerless to do anything about it. They used to use black babies in this country to fish alligators. You guys are fooling yourself, man. You are fooling yourself, but I get to understand what's happening. Just like in Egypt, Pharaoh's heart was hardened. America's heart is hardened because prophecy has to be fulfilled. But I am telling you, folks, this is about self-rescue. We have to be able to rescue ourselves. We have to go back to the God of Isaac, Jacob, and Abraham. This is why the Elohim always announced himself like that. Because it's so easy for us to get distracted, so easy for us to lose our way. Like the book says, we were given wood and stone to pay homage to. Those are not the right people. They know it. That's why they call themselves Israeli and not Israelite. They attach themselves to that land and not to the name of the Elohim. This is the reason why DNA testing is almost illegal in that country. Why? Have you heard of Israel exhuming any bones from 3,000 years ago and look to extract DNA from it? Have you ever heard that? No. If they do, they know the jig is up. They found a cave. It's suggested that is the cave of the Maccabees. Guess what? They wanted to test the bones. All of a sudden, the Rabbinic Council swoops in and come up with this analogous type law stating that is a crime or something like that, sacrilege to disturb Jewish bones. Lies. Jacob asked his son not to leave him in that land, to take his bones. They come up with lies to cover themselves. The book says that they're confederate. They take up crafty counsel to let the name of Israel disappear. What did they do with our foreparents? Change their names, just like Nebuchadnezzar people did. Just like in Babylon, change their names. You guys need to be taught the right way. Our children need to be taught the right way so that they could be proud of who they are. The Elohim says, you guys are so rich, yet you're so poor. We are poor because our identity, our alignment with the Most High was taken away. But slowly, but surely, he says he's going to stretch forth his arms. The great awakening is happening, folks. Many people will look at me and say, oh yeah, you're crazy, you're anti-Semite, and I could care less. I'm not anti-Semite. I believe in what Bob Marley says. Zion train is coming our way. Don't ask no questions. The train is for everybody who believes. Just get on board and say, thank you, Lord. But for us, it's a different story. We've been taught lies. We've been taught lies. The lies are there in the sense that ask Netanyahu which one of his family girls was sold for a drink of wine. Who did that happen to? In the book of Joel, it talks about a boy for a harlot, folks. You know where a boy for a harlot came in? 1833. The British stopped slavery and enforced the laws on the high seas. America, with slave economy, come up with a solution to solve that problem. They started breeding slaves. They were using a boy for a harlot. The terminology MF came out of the slave breeding genre. They used to put a bag over the male's head so that he would never know he's sleeping with his mother. And this is what the slave master had it as a joke. He's a real mother effer. This is the nastiness that persisted in this country. You guys wouldn't teach your children the right way. How in God's name could those people be the right people? Are they last? That's the key. Are they last? Were they ever slaves? They can't point to slavery in their generations. None of them. But yet they're the chosen people. The legacy of Israel is that we have always been slaves because we are stripped of that regal costume that God gave us. But he says one day he's going to return it. And when he returns, he says, I don't know where Basra is, but he says he's going to come from Basra and his garment is going to be like it was dipped in blood. Ladies and gentlemen, get on the right side. Get on the right side, folks. You see those Haitians that you like discriminating against? Those people are direct descendants of the people in the book. They just don't know it yet, but they're going to be in the future. Keep discriminating against them. You're doing a good job, America. Keep it up.